Hey everybody, welcome back. We have a whole bunch of random stuff to go over today. We're going to be playing some Vayne Quinn Aatrox to start off the stream. I enjoy this deck. The updates are coming soon, so I thought I'd play a deck I enjoy, I'm a little bit more comfortable with, and just try to climb a little bit before the season ends. Plus, we can go over some of the patch notes. The new variety patch just dropped, so I'm excited to see some of those new cards. I only looked over a few before starting the stream, and I didn't see any of the patch notes yet, so that'll be kind of like a live reaction. And I might also play some Quinn Misfortune. I really love Quinn. I just want to get some Quinn games in, see what's up with some of the different decks. I haven't played Scouts in a few weeks just to see how it does. But yeah, so we'll get into some games. I'm excited. Today's a really great day for me. I have been absolutely decimated in every single video game I've played in League of Legends and Overwatch, but my card game life, I have some good news. The new Legends of Runeterra patch obviously is coming tomorrow. And the Wilds of Eldraine spoilers just dropped for Magic the Gathering, so I'm pretty hyped. Oops, I gotta update my stream title too. But yeah, I think the next season's gonna be it for Eternal. They said they had some updates for both Eternal and Standard. I'm excited to see what it's like. If the tournament format isn't Eternal, I'll just end up playing Eternal. But I think the Standard meta game needs a little bit of a shift. Overall, I'm pretty happy with where the Standard meta is at. I enjoy a lot of the decks that are successful. It feels like you can experiment a lot. But there are some decks that are just obnoxious to play against. Like, I'm really not a fan of the Sump Monument gameplay. And I know they said that was one they were specifically targeting. That was a good draw. I was pretty happy to draw something here. I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive. I think one of the ways we really lose this matchup is pressing skip until turn 6, right? Like, if we didn't have any pressure early game, it gets tough for us to race them out when they can start going Lord Broadmains plus... Do I even want to do this? I don't think so. I think I just want to save the mana so next turn we can go Vayne and then keep up Catch. Because I don't really care to attack this Junk Construct right now. Unfortunate. That's fine. We can kill her next turn. I don't know if the damage is as relevant. Obviously with Lord Broadmain they might be able to burn us out a little bit more. I guess if they have another Drop the Bomb, we can just go Catch for +1. Seems fine. Do I want to do this? Like, we're not technically trading. What if we do this? This turn kind of played out awkwardly. Hold on a second. Let me go back and think through this. Obviously, like, I can't guarantee what removals they have, but I should expect them to have some form of damage. It just gets hard with Vayne when she's on slightly lower stats, I guess. I can go like this, and I guess that doesn't do anything. I guess I'll just pass on. Okay, maybe yeah, what am I doing? I feel really awkward. Hold on. I guess if was I just supposed to go catch +1/+1 there rather than the equipment? Does that make much of a difference? Because now I'll definitely just swap the Darkened Bloodletters, I suppose. So I think I wasted a little bit of mana there. Kind of awkward. Oh, that's actually really annoying. I was going to be able to attack with Elkin, giving him the +1/+1. So I could just go like this. And then attack this way. So that was a little awkward. Do I even want to do this? I just want to do this to level up Vayne. But I don't think that actually really accomplishes much. I'll just pass like this and just use a cheaper rally in the future. Just to save the extra health on our dude here. Darkened Spear, there we go. Now we can get in some attacks with Vayne. Oh, jeepers, yeah. These guys are kind of spooky. Like, Vayne can't even attack this way, though. She won't have enough damage. Have I seen the new cards? I have seen a few. I opened the screen to look at them, and then I decided I'd go over them on stream. So after a few games, I'll take a peek at some of those. We don't have enough damage to actually kill their board. We can go like this. Turn it into a 3 toughness plus 4 toughness, so I guess that works. I feel like I've been adapting to this game very slowly. Like, it took me way too long to figure out the proper plays. We need to get some big units on board because we can't kill Broadman yet. I think I'm just gonna go fish fight here to get the Darkened Spear back, so we can tumble with the Elkin. Again, I guess we could tumble with the Broadwing because he'd actually be able to kill whatever blocks him with the 5 toughness. Yeah, this is so awkward since all our units are still kind of weak. This guy's kind of strong. I think I've rushed through the early turns too much. I don't know, like, if I had too many better plays, but I certainly don't think I played it properly. Just equipping things in a weird fashion. Like starting with the Darkened Lodestone there, and the catch use was awkward on the Broadwing to save it, rather than, I think, just using catch plain. Oh, Stony Suppressor. I was playing a deck the other day. I think I was playing Swain Alawi. Maybe. But I had like a super spell heavy hand. Or no, it would have been like a Norwegian. Yeah, I think it was just I was playing Norwegian myself. And I hit Stony Suppressor when I had a ton of like Peerless Pastries and Pie Tosses and Portal Paloozas in hand. And I was like trying to throw my guy into combat to get him to die. Okay. Aatrox can't die to Broadmane right now. So I'll do that, I suppose. We at least get to open attack. Okay, if that's their whole turn, they just played Conchologist. I think I'm pretty happy with that. And I kind of want to take my open attack. Maybe we shouldn't though. If we do, we just run into their broad main without them being forced to use a spell to do it. If I start Fleet Feather Tracker, they have to be a little scared. Okay, so it's just a Riptide Rex turn. Well, that's nowhere near as spooky, I think, as Broadmane. I think Broadmane's way worse for us. So I might just take my attack here. So this guy's got the Darkened Spear. Where's our Lodestone? Right here. So I could give this guy into a 4 toughness. That seems pretty good. I could just make this guy bigger and pull here. And then get in with the rest like this. And just keep up a tumble to level up Vayne this turn. We probably lose our Broadmane if we do this. Is that the worst thing in the world? We already have one other challenger coming. This seems like an okay attack. They can't kill any of these 2 units without using a spell, and Aatrox is pretty big. We still have a catch if he gets like absolutely lasered by the Riptide Rex. Okay. Like this is pretty okay for me. They have almost no board now, so if I play just a Riptide Rex... We also got this really cheap now too. Wait, hold on a second. If they play Riptide Rex, depending on what they hit... Oh yeah, they really got... Oh, because it's deal 2 to a unit. That's fair. So we could save Aatrox. Vayne's definitely dead. She's taking 6 damage. Okay, so we could just save Aatrox. That seems fine. Now I think I'm just gonna play Zalani here to kill our Broadwing to get a Naka in hand, and we can just start like playing our big Darkin. Is that okay? I'm not sure. It seems fine. Because Zalani won't have any damage, Aatrox won't have any damage, so Broadmane might be a little bit awkward. Fish Fight's a great draw too. I could just take this block. I don't know if they have a way to interact with this on the stack. Like if they'd have a Broadmane, right? Like they could follow up with something. But if they don't have an answer to Aatrox right away in one action, we at least get to play a cheap Naka, and we have a Farazi on board. This seems pretty good. Oh, it's another Riptide Rex. Interesting. Okay, so Spell Shield gone. That's fine. And our hand looks really good. I'm kind of tempted to just play a Naka here and open attack rather than tumbling this turn to save the tumble for next turn. Because there's no way they can kill all of our units. So we get to tumble with something. And again, the regen on Aatrox is really nice. I think I'm just going to open attack here. Nice, that's pretty good. That makes it really awkward for them to use spells here. Okay. I think I really started off that game slowly and awkwardly. But we were able to put up a lot of pressure. That's kind of what our game plan is when we're into those control-y decks. Yeah, one more game and then we'll jump into some of the card previews. That looks like a lot of fun. I have so many card game things going on. I literally haven't even made enough time to play it all. Because I didn't get into the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set hype, even though I love Lord of the Rings, because it's for a format I don't really play all that much. And then maybe I'll keep Cataclysm just to kill Vhagar. I don't know if that's all that important. Maybe I'll pitch it. And so finally I cracked. I'm like, I never play in tournaments or go to game stores anyways, so it doesn't matter if I'm like a little post-hype for the set. It just means some of the prices have fallen down, and so I got some cards for that, but I haven't built the decks with it yet. Then, I can just pass here until we maybe find an equipment or some protection. Oh, interesting. And so I finally got some cards for that, so I need to play some Lord of the Rings cards with Magic, and then I have the Wilds of Eldraine set spoilers just came out for Magic today, and the new cards for this. I'm excited. I don't even know what to do with all my time. I want to stream some Magic. I really enjoy it, and I feel like it'd be fun to stream. But I always struggle, kind of like, oh, is it really my target audience? I've been streaming nothing but Legends of Runeterra now. Soul Harvest roasts Vayne here, so I'm just going to go with Badger Bear. I might not play Ranger Knight Defector next turn, if we want to keep up a fish fight. Yeah, no equipment here is kind of awkward, huh? We don't even have Scout on Ranger Knight Defector, so does it accomplish anything? I guess I go Vayne just to start leveling her up, because the Nasus Vhagar deck is a really bad matchup for us, and so I think one of the only ways we really beat them is if we can level up Vayne and get a whole bunch of free attacks really quickly before they can get to their late game plan. But we have no way of really stopping them. Like if they get the Vaults of Helia, it gets very difficult for us to do anything. I'll take my attack here, just try to push through some damage. It gives them some card draw, but they won't have any board state afterwards. The only thing I'm worried about here is if they're not going for it. They could have chump blocked with the second sentry over here and hate spiked, and that would have killed our main. But I took the gamble, because she's on 3 health anyways, usually. So she's kind of prone to a hate spike. I'd really love to find an equipment, like a... I guess Dark Spirit would be fine for the stats, but I'd prefer the quick attack. I'm going to really try to up the pressure here. I'm going to tumble with Valor. That's a... Ooh. That's not great for them. They're still taking a ton of damage. And now they only have a 1 mana unit anyways. They're just gonna get like their 3rd sentry. This would be so nice if we had an equipment here. Like if we had the I can't even think. Oh, Allocated Surrender. Yeah, any of our damage, even like a Darkened Bloodletters would be nice there to push some extra damage. That's a really bad matchup for us though. I don't know what our opponent's hand was, but I don't think the play there is to hate spike the Vayne. Maybe the Vaults of Helia was just aggressive when they knew we had rallies in hand. Anyways, 200 LP for the first time this season. Where does that get us? Top 889. Sweet. All right, let's take a quick break to look at some cards. I'm really excited here. All right, welcome to our next variety patch. We've received some feedback that it's a bit hard to quickly see which changes affect standard and which affect eternal. We separated them into 2 sections. Last variety patch we were light on standard changes, but this time we want to make sure we dethrone some monument. Yeah. And some other meta decks, so the meta can continue to evolve alongside Eternal. I don't really love the Sump Monument decks. Nasus Vhagar's a little annoying too at times. But otherwise, like, I don't really get too ticked off when I see Fizz Samira anymore. I don't really care for Lurk, but that's just a personal preference. Heimer Jace is a fun control deck. Jinx Kennen I feel like is a pretty fair aggro deck. Aatrox Quinn Vayne, Jax Ornn, Alawi Swain. Like, there are a lot of decks I don't mind running into. So I'm excited to see what changes come in standard. But yeah, I'm excited to see some of these new cards. This was the first one I looked at. I was a little bit confused about this theme. Divine Draft. 2 mana slow speed for P and Z. Deal 1 to an enemy or the enemy axis and 1 to another. Very cool pink spell. It reminds me of like Time Winder. Is that what it is? Time Winder, I think. To play, discard 1, deal 1 to an enemy or the enemy axis and 1 to another. So you don't have to discard a card for the new one, but the new one is at slow speed. Like, that's the downside. Oops, I completely forgot to turn off game capture, so you guys didn't actually see what I'm reading. I'm just reading that off. Anyways, ignore that for just a second. Here we go. Okay, see, I was just reading this little section here. Divine Draft. Wow, this zoom does not work well, huh? Divine Draft. Deal 1 to an enemy or the enemy nexus and 1 to another. Very similar to Time Winder. I just don't understand the theme of it as much. When I think Divine Draft, I think of something like Targon. And like Divine Draft, like the winds almost of like remind me more of Ionia. So I don't understand the theme where this is from, like the Divine Draft of a PNZ card. I think the card is pretty cool though. Are you gonna use this? Oh, it's Janna. Oh, right, because she came. Okay, thank you. That helps a lot more with the lore. That means in the card, yeah. See, I never would have recognized that. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you for that. Why are you gonna run this a lot? I don't know if you really want to run this as your pink spell all the time. Obviously, like, I guess it just depends. And it's like a nice card against some aggro decks, can ping off things like Zonite Urchins. But I almost feel like I'd rather run Caustic Rift most of the time. But I see the utility in the card. And especially, you know, being much cheaper than Caustic Rift, you can use it much earlier in the game to stop aggro decks. I wonder if this is going to be good in like a Swain deck somewhere, since you can also ping the Nexus. Are there any good Swain PNZ decks? Since like I don't really think Ezreal Swain was ever really a thing. I like the idea of the card though, and now that you mentioned that it's Janna, the theme is starting to speak to me a lot more. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool because I was totally lost. That's fun. This card looks really cool to me. I don't play many Freljord ramp decks, but I like the artwork and I think it's a pretty cool mechanic for like a low stat unit. 5 mana bird tribal, Crystalline Storm After, play deal 2 to all other units. Kind of like Avalanche attached to a body. I think that's pretty cool for Freljord. A lot of times, right, like if your opponent can play smart around the Avalanche, it forces you into an awkward situation where as soon as you rip Avalanche, they can just rebuild and instantly pressure you again. Or at least with this, you have a pretty decent sized unit on board afterwards. Tidal Invocation. This is a really interesting one, I think. 2 mana fast speed, deal 1 to a unit, spawn 1 for each damage dealt. So I think this is a really cool way to try to combine Alawi and the Kegs archetype in Bilgewater a lot more. I think that's pretty interesting. I don't really know what other, like, would you do? You wouldn't really run this in a Swain Alawi deck because Swain can't buff up the damage on your spells. So I don't feel like it'd be that fantastic. But like, if this was in a, it's kind of like Vile Feast. Interesting. Yeah, it is, because Vile Feast only gave you a 1/1 as well. I like it. That's pretty good. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I didn't think about that being like Vile Feast. So yeah, I guess it is pretty good in even without the Kegs. But imagine if this is like in a Mischievous Mirai deck. You like deal 6 to a unit, spawn 6. That's pretty nasty. But yeah, interesting. That is a pretty good card. Just for pinging off a small unit and getting a 1/1. I didn't think about that. Interesting. I like that. Okay, this is where we've gotten to the cards I haven't looked at all. 1 mana 1/1 Shadow Isles. Proliferating Dark Wraith. Last breath, create in deck an exact combi of your strongest Proliferating Dark Wraith in deck, then double its stats of Proliferating Dark Wraith in deck. That's pretty interesting. That reminds me of like the, was it Kihiri from the Shurima Predict decks? Interesting. I like that. I think Shadow Isles has some cool mechanics like that. I enjoy Viego's Mist Wraiths and everything. It's also a very interesting way to get your game plan started very early in the game. You don't necessarily have to be just an early game removal and like a ceaseless sentry deck in the early game. You can start working on your dark wraiths as like pretty impactful units late in the game. I like that. 2-mana Crimson Banquet Hall. I always like seeing new landmarks. This is interesting for Noxus. Oh, interesting. Allies cost 1 less when you play an ally, deal 2 to it. So that definitely smells like a Scargrounds deck. And an extra easy way to cheat out your units. That seems pretty good. I guess that you have to kind of manage your Vladimir buff, yeah. It's interesting how you have to manage your mana if you're dumping too much mana into the landmarks themselves. Like you have to play Crimson Banquet Hall for 2 mana, and what, Skygrounds is 3 mana if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, so like you definitely don't want to go... I wouldn't imagine there are many situations where you want to go turn 2 Crimson Banquet Hall, turn 3 Skygrounds. You're not actually developing anything on board to pressure your opponent. But it's certainly an interesting choice, huh? Very cool. Mr. Thrift. Oh my gosh, this is adorable. I don't even know what the heck he is. He's like a little ball of yarn holding up the scroll. I love it. Okay. I love Nora support, so I'm interested to see what this is like. Oh, wait. When one or more of your traps or boons activate it, plant 2 of it in that player's deck. So when you activate a portal, plant 2 more random ones in your deck? That seems pretty sick. Oh, heck yeah. The Nora ramp. I like that. That's pretty cool if I'm understanding that right. 2-mana burst speed Targon. Cosmic Call. For 2-mana burst, invoke a Celestial that costs 7 or more. Oh my gosh. Or pay 8 to also reduce the cost of your Celestials. To also reduce. So it's not a choice. So you would be able to, for 8 mana, invoke the Celestial and reduce its cost by half. Oh, that seems sick. That's kind of funny. So, I'm trying to think what, depending on the matchup, when it would be practical to do this. Like, let's say it's turn 5, you banked all 3 spell mana, you have 8 mana. On turn 8, or turn 5, you could invoke, reduce its cost by half, rounded up. So you invoke a Great Beyond for 9 mana, cut it down to 4.5, rounded up. So is the reduction by half? So it would cut, I think it would cut the Great Beyond from 9 mana to 4 mana, right? Because it would cut it by 4.5 and round that 4.5 up in terms of reducing by 5, not reducing the post reduction cost. So you'd have a turn 6 4 mana Great Beyond. That'd be pretty nasty. This also seems like a much more interesting way to me to cheat out Targon cards rather than Targon's Peak. I really hate Targon's Peak decks. So this seems like a much more interesting way to me to do that. Because it's more consistent as well. Like, you know it's reducing the cost of your Targon card in your Celestial cards, rather than hoping you randomly hit your big cards in hand with Targon's Peak, which is just frustrating if you're the person losing to it, and frustrating if you're the player playing Targon's Peak and it doesn't hit your big cards. So I think that seems like a much more interesting way to create the Targon cheap invoke Celestials. That's pretty cool. Eris. Okay, interesting. I don't like the Husk archetype too much, but I do love the Nexus Strike elusive cards. 2 mana Ionia, very cool. Ionia 1/1. Nexus Strike, summon a random Husk. That's pretty cool. Huh. I wonder what that looks like. I guess this can fit into any Evelyn deck because of her like Worldwalker background. I can't imagine you'd want to play this in too many other decks. Like if you're playing Ari Kennen, obviously that's just my Ari Kennen bias. Anytime I see a new Ione card, I want to see if it can fit in there. You'd be recalling all your units, so it'd kind of reset the keywords on them, so I don't think that'd make too much sense. What about something like the Viego Ionia control decks? Would it make sense just to use this as an extra way to get big keywords on your Viegos or your Camavoran soldiers and things like that? Or your Hydravine? I think it seems like a really fun card. I don't know if you'd put it in anything besides Evelyn decks, though. Obviously, this is just me completely riffing off gut reaction, not necessarily the highest level deep analysis into what possible decks could possibly use it. Because it certainly seems like a fun card. And the upside is very nice. Because it gives your other units stats, which is pretty hard to come by in Ionia. Like, if you are playing, you know, like a set deck with this, and you play set and with 3 husks, because if you're playing, you know, an Ionia control deck, you might not be playing all that many other units. So if Eris sits on the battlefield for a few turns, gets in a few strikes, and then you play set, he gets an extra 2 husks even for like overwhelm elusive, or, you know, whatever he hits. Like, that seems pretty interesting. Oh, formidable deck. I haven't seen formidable cards in a long time. Balin the Benevolent, 4 mana 0/4 formidable. Attack, grant formidable allies everywhere +0/+1. That seems interesting. So when he attacks, he turns himself into an 0/5. So 4 mana 5/5 essentially, or like 5 stat line, is a pretty good attack. Plus buffs up everything else. Like, if you already have a Petrosite Broadwing on board, he turns into an 0/4. And I'm sure you're running other random stats in there too, like Durand Sculptors, things like that. Very interesting. That seems like a pretty solid card. I like that. Man, Galio Poppy, throwback. I haven't played that in a long time. That'd be a pretty cool one. I'm interested in this. This seems cool. Oh my gosh. 3 mana Shurila. Chip landmark. Valley of Imitation. When you play a follower, transform me into an exact copy of it this round. I retain granted buffs. That's pretty sick. That's really interesting. Because a lot of times landmarks, if they don't have much onboard impact, you're kind of generating value through them elsewhere. This is like, imagine you go turn 3 Rock Bear Shepherd, turn 4 Valley of Imitation, turn 5 copy Valley of Imitation with Talia. And then on turn 6, you play, like, Herald of the Magus, and you have 3 Herald of the Maguses hit the board. I guess that doesn't work, because that's transforming. I don't, because is Herald of the Magus when he's summoned? It is when he's summoned. So transforming wouldn't count, right? Hold on a second then. Let's see. What about the Stonebreaker? This guy's in the Targon version, though. And he's on play as well. Okay, so what are some good cards you could do here? Obviously, in the higher end, Arsenal would be cool. But what are, like, the 6 mana cards you could play in that deck? So you can go turn 3, Rockbase Shepherd, turn 4, Monument of Imitation, turn 5, Talia. And so then when you play your next unit, you'd have 3 of them. I don't know any off the top of my head. But that seems like a really sick little combo. I guess you don't really have too many great ones. Is it any unit, though? It's not even just... It's not just followers, right? Oh, no, it's a follower. Okay. Either way, that seems like a really sick card. I don't know how great it'll be, but it seems like a lot of fun. Could it play with Nidalee? Yeah, that's an interesting one, too. That could be pretty nasty. Would that work, like, if you go turn 3 Valley of Imitation, and then go Pyrophant here for the 2 mana bush? You would get the copies of the bush, right? And so you'd have 2 separate instances where you could transform him. That's a lot of damage, though. Like, that's pretty cool. Or even if you did it with something cheaper, like the Vulnerable dude. The All-Terrain Trooper, just like 2 3/1s that grant something vulnerable. That's pretty cool. When is summoned or transform. So would that still count? I don't know how that would work with the copying, like I transform into it, right? I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Transform me into an exact copy. Yeah, so that would work. That's pretty cool. I like that. Card adjustments for standard. Nerfs. Oh, okay. I saw nerf and then I saw the cost reduced and I was like, how's that a nerf? Okay. No scout. So that's pretty good. I think that's pretty reasonable. When allowing for 2+4/+4 attacks in a single turn, Champion Strength was too strong at decisive ending games. I agree. There are so many games where Champion Strength literally just wins the matchup on the spot if you don't have any like deny spell or anything. I think this is so much more reasonable. Because I don't like cards that literally just blow up the match in one go because your opponent's deck just doesn't have quite the answers for it. Like if you're not like a counterspell deck, if you're not running Ready Negation or Deny, it's so hard for most decks to respond. And one of the reasons I love Legends of Runeterra is because it feels like in pretty much every matchup you have a chance. And I just feel like games like that where it's just like, well, all of a sudden your opponent's swinging in with like 4 8/8s that all have Scout. Like, that's not cool. That just like wins so many games so easily. I think this seems like a pretty reasonable adjustment because it's still a big enough attack to, like, you're going to take one normal attack and then give your allies +4/+4 for the second attack. That's still really good. I like that. Summon Monument. Blech. Okay, let's see. If your Nexus would take non-poison PubCap damage, your opponent... Okay, so it's the cost as well. The cost goes up 1, and instead of 4 shrooms, it's 5 shrooms. The Zombie Immortality program caused a monumental shift in the meta. We're making it slower and more lethal to make it more difficult for the Sump to steal games. Yeah, thank goodness. I hated that card. That was the most annoying card for me in a while. I just don't like the overall gameplay. Like, forcing your opponent to play the PubCap game too just isn't fun. I think it was fun back in the olden days when the player playing Teemo Caitlyn or whatever kind of had that nervy on the edge, are we going to hit the PubCaps? And as the defender, you still had to hope you don't hit the PubCaps. But it's just so obnoxious when you're not allowed to draw cards and your opponent can't take damage, like you can't close out the game. It's just kind of annoying. That was not a fun card, so I'm glad they changed that. And Condense is being changed. Cool. This is also a good one, I think. It definitely brings some exciting plays. But yeah, making like... You could play before you could play like Riptide Rex, the following turn play a 3-mana Riptide Rex, or you know what I mean? 2 for the 2 cost Condense plus the 1 cost unit. Because there are so many units that have powerful enter the battlefield effects. Yeah, interesting. And Swain, nerfs? Oh, wow, that's a serious nerf. An extra 4 combat damage to level him up. Non-combat damage to level him up. As the card pool has deepened, Swain's level up condition has slowly gone from a mild inconvenience to somewhat trivial. Yeah, that's actually interesting because he doesn't even have Flock anymore in Standard. Unless you have a second copy of Swain anymore. Even without Ravenous Flock, he still levels things up so much. Or levels up very quickly. This change aims to push you towards playing more damage if you want to have Swain's Tyrannical level 2 online by round 5. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable change. Especially with the Alawi package, there are certainly a lot of ways to level him up quickly. I'm interested to see what he does, though. I feel like Swain Nora won't be a very good deck anymore. Swain took a much longer time to level him up, I felt, in that deck. Like, Swain Alawi, you still leveled him up extraordinarily quickly. But Nora's package isn't really built around dealing damage as much. Like, you don't have Tentacle Smash or the Watchful Idol. So Swain didn't level up as fast in that deck. So I don't know if that deck will be very playable anymore as like a top tier deck. Very interesting. I'm excited to see if maybe there's some other changes in the package elsewhere, because it is a fun deck. Okay, Purifying Flames. I'm very happy with this. I'm not a huge fan. This is more of a personal preference card for me. I'm not a huge fan of the Targon stat stick decks. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Eternal Season next, yeah, for the tournaments and everything. Purifying Flames. I understand the I think people give elusives too much hate. I think yeah, this is a perfect note. Editor's note: elusives are too good with stat buffs. More news at 11. Yeah, I don't really care for the Teemo elusives Targon stat stick decks. I do enjoy a lot of the more lower to the ground, just try to be efficient and sneaky elusive decks. Cards like Young Witch, I love Young Witch, or Green Glade Duo, Ari Kennen, things like that I really enjoy. I'm not a big fan of just saying, yeah, my 1-mana Teemo is now a 5/5. What are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? That's not my favorite. So I think this is reasonable. Pirouette, up a cost. But it still only costs 1 if you've done Plunder. Okay. Pirouette's been running circles around both Standard and Eternal. This change aims to bring down Pirouette's power as a control tool and Plunder enabler, and reserves its massive tempo swings for decks willing to go the extra mile to enable it. Editor's note: tempo. Fish Fight, extra cost. Cool, I like that. I do think that's reasonable. Single combat is still a very good combat option, but being able to go 2-mana combat option that doesn't even put damage on your own unit, I think that's reasonable. Lord Broadmane from a 3/5 to a 3/4. Sure, I agree with that. Especially with Condense being buffed up too, or nerfed as well, like the cost being increased. I don't think you need to kill Lord Broadmane as a card. Pretty interesting. Vaults of Helia, just an extra cost. Squeaker, down to a 1/2. Yeah, that's pretty difficult for Vaults of Helia decks to really work around. You're probably right, that's kind of a rip. Hopefully that opens the door for some other like interesting Nasus decks, because I feel like there are so many more interesting ways to interact with Nasus when it's not just a Vault of Helia deck. Like, I feel Shadow Isles has some very interesting control decks available to them. Maybe with some of the other decks getting nerfed, we'll see some more openings for things like Viego or just more traditional Nasus decks. Like, where's Nasus Thresh when you need it, man? I missed that one, kind of. Maybe nostalgia is just history after a few drinks. But I wouldn't mind some Thresh Nasus in the meta. Alright, Squeaker. I think this is another reasonable change. You have so many augment cards that you can still get Squeaker up to a reasonable stat line. Aggressive discard decks have burned a hole in the meta. We're targeting some of their early board presence and impact access to dial back their immense reach. I also think this is a reasonable adjustment because Squeaker can kind of be a trade-off. Like, he doesn't need to be a crazy aggressive early game card. You have a lot of ways to push early damage. You can just use Squeaker as a way to set up your late game in a tough matchup, right? Like, when you can't burn them through the first, 6-7 turns, you can't get the win. You can just use Squeaker as a way to find that finishing piece that you need. You don't need Squeaker to be the one pushing 4 or 5 damage. You know what I mean? Like, you can find the Dunehopper mech or whatever it is. Editors know our legal team has thrown the book at Squeaker, and this is the price he's paid for our extended extortion. After being progressively buffed, we've cornered him. Don't be a Squeaker because we will find you. Return a Wrench. Oh, it doesn't grant impact anymore. Now it just grants +0/+1. That's actually still pretty good. I think that's very, very reasonable. Now, instead of the impact damage, which is obviously very nice and helps add up over the course of the game, if you just get an extra point of damage onto your Jinx, now your Jinx is safe from things like Aftershock, or getting it onto one of your 1-drops, now your 1-drops are safe from a Pie Toss. I still feel like that's a pretty reasonable card. I don't know if this is necessarily a cut from the Jinx canon decks just because of that. I like that change. Fleet Admiral Shelly, no attune. Nerf to discard aggro. Buff to Mecha Yordles? Yeah. Fleet Admiral Shelly, just no attune. War criminal with over 300 confirmed quills that cannot be twisted with spell mana. Reasonable. It's a very powerful card. It can't just take over the game. So I think that 1 mana seems like a pretty fair starting point for keeping him relevant without destroying the card. Because that 1 mana is nice. If you had to just blank play 5 mana, you only had 5 mana on turn 5. You could play Shelly, and with the additional mana, you could use something like Warning Shot plus, Trinket Trade or whatever random 1 mana spell you had in hand. Now it'll be a little more awkward to slam him on turn 5 unless you've already banked up some mana, but I think he's still a reasonable card. I don't feel like too many cards have been totally roasted. Like maybe Vaults of Helia. And I'm curious to see how many of these other ones come along, but like, I feel like Pirouette's not dead because of this nerf. Like, it's still a pretty interesting card. And you have so many ways to activate Plunder that you can activate it for 1 mana at a lot of times. I think this seems like a pretty interesting patch so far. Buffs to Warlord's Palace. Oh, I haven't played Action in a while. Hasn't been a meta presence for a while. And bringing Momentous Choice back down to a single spell opens up space for it to get back in action. I like this. I always enjoyed Action. I never felt like it was an oppressive card. He was just like a very good overall efficient card. Helped you get some interesting card choices and all that stuff. But I never felt like he was like oppressive to play against, even when he was really good. Maybe that's just, again, a personal enjoyment thing because I enjoyed a lot of his decks. But I don't know. I don't feel like he was as toxic to play against as something like peak Kaisa. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see how this plays out. Poro King buff. Old, level up, you've summoned 6 other new Poros. Summoned 6 other new Poros. And when he levels up, create a special snacks in hand. That's pretty good. The meta hasn't exactly given the Poro King a royal welcome, so we're giving him more consistent access to his fancy snacks to help him establish his reign. I think that makes sense. The Poro King decks just don't seem to have enough interaction to really keep up with other decks. So being able to quickly access that special snacks on hand without relying on him sticking around for like 2 more actions is pretty reasonable. Frosted snacks. Just frostbite's an enemy. Pretty reasonable. That seems pretty good. Blimp Pack Poacher gets an additional health. Yeah, I think that's fine, because this card just seemed horrendous when you'd transform. You'd spend 5 mana, right? 2 mana as a bush, plus the 3 mana to flip him, and then your opponent can just Mystic Shot him whenever. You know what I mean? It just seemed like really bad. Bristlehog. When an ally transforms, he turns into a 3/2. A 3/3. So it's just like Chip, but for transform archetype. Not bad. I don't know if I ever saw this card actually get played. That's kind of funny. Riven. Buff for Riven. Each round the first time you increase my power, increase it by twice the amount. Oh, each round the first time you increase my power, grant me that much power. That's pretty cool. So the second half of the buff is permanent, rather than just increasing it for that round. That seems pretty nasty. Oh yeah, the first time you increase my power. So if you equip her with a weapon that gives her +2 damage, she'll also get +2 damage from her new passive. And then even if they quietest the equipment, that second 2 damage would stick around, right? That seems pretty cool. Nami reducing the spell mana. Interesting. I haven't seen Nami play in a while, so that's pretty cool. Sun Guardian. Hey! Yo! I love this deck. I'm so happy this is getting some help. Sun Guardian, old 2/2 back to a 2/3. Now that Crimson Pigeon and Samira have been tuned down, it seems safe to turn back on the lights. I like that. Very cool, very cool. I really enjoy those decks. I'm happy to see that. Dragon Guard Lookout. Ooh, okay. This is actually pretty interesting, because this card seemed pretty bad before. Just a 6 mana 3/5 is very weak, but the rally effect was nice. So this seems like it's actually really big tempo play now, because it's a threat on its own, right? Your opponent's already dealing with the dragons, and now you already have an additional 5/5. I like that. Although I didn't really see it played all that much, this makes an interesting consideration. Thread the Needle, down a cost. Was this 2 mana when it first came out? For some reason I thought this was always 3 cost. But I think this is reasonable. There was never really a reason I felt to play Thread the Needle over Hate Spike. Hate Spike was usually pretty efficient, and the extra mana cost felt nice. But I like Thread the Needle. It's just tough because the lower cost now, at least, is somewhat of a consolation prize. Since Thread the Needle uses your unit's power, unless you're using like one of your ephemerals that got buffed up from all the hallowed stacks, you don't really want to kill your big units, your important units that have a high base power to kill an enemy unit. So you usually want to use it on, one of your ephemerals that was able to sneak off an attack, and then you Thread the Needle on that. So I feel like the extra cost increases or decreases pretty interesting. Strafing Strike. Whoa! It's only good in Undying decks? Yeah. Strafing Strike, old to heal 2 to heal 5. That's pretty wild. That's actually really interesting. Because, like, this is really good for your opponent if you get their dragon down to, like, 3 health and you play Aftershock, but then they just kill one of your units. They're going to gain 5 health plus the Fury health, so 6. 6 health just like that on their unit. That's going to make it, like, impossible to kill dragons. Because even, like, a Hexbliterator, if you play a Hexbliterator onto a 3 health dragon, you're like, sweet, I'm dealing 6 damage. And then all of a sudden they heal 5 plus the Fury trigger for 6. And then if the unit didn't have a ton of power, that hit it back. Like, there's a chance this is actually a really good card, I feel. Shavada coming back, maybe? I like that. I definitely want to experiment with this. Legend has it that a third Boulder's Gate has been constructed recently. That's kind of funny. Shyvana Confront. Grant an ally challenger. What? Grant an ally challenger if it's a dragon draw 1? Oh my gosh, that seems so good. Cause there's the one card, I don't even remember what it is, that for Jack's decks that draws a card when you give it challenger. But this is the same thing for dragons now. I love that increase. Because there was almost never a reason really to run Confront in the main deck, I felt. You already probably ran something like Screeching Dragon as a way to challenge enemy units and single combat and all these extra combat spells. And so you would be happy if you drew a second Shyvana if you were really desperate to give something challenger. But being able to draw, I feel is... Yeah, Entrancing Lore, thank you. I feel like this is a really nice change. That's just a really nice quality of life change, because the Dragons decks have definitely been struggling. And it's just so hard for them to keep up in card advantage in some other decks. Not that Dragons necessarily should be a crazy card engine. But I like that. I feel like that's a very good change. These two changes make Dragons very interesting. Plus, wasn't there something earlier for Dragons? No, Fish Fight was the one that I was thinking of. Okay. Interesting. I like that one. Wow, this is taking a while. I didn't realize how many changes there were. Dawning Shadow. Down a cost. Cool. Rocket Barrage. Yeah, okay. I was interested to see how this one played out, because you just never played this really over something like Caustic Rift. Now deal 3 to an enemy. Now deal 4. I like that. That actually can kill some reasonable units as well. I like that. Eradication getting reduced even more. Okay, 5 cost. Kill all units with 3 or less power. That's such a huge blowout against aggro decks. That seems like a really nice change. Adjustments. You've attacked with 16 power rather than you've struck for 12. Interesting. It's intended as a quality of life adjustment. Oh, right. You'll get the level 2 buff on attack rather than like he attacks and doesn't get the extra buffs until after that combat. I like that. That's pretty cool. Realms Caretaker got an adjustment from Yordle to Fae. Interesting. Cool. Yordle to Fae. Eternal buffs. Lee Sin's coming back. Level up from 10 spells to 8 spells? Oh my gosh. I literally forgot Lee Sin was even a card. That's pretty crazy. I like that. I'm interested to see what comes of that. I feel like, again, this is something where I'm sure nostalgia is hitting a little bit more. But I feel like I'd rather run into a Lee Sin deck right now than peak Karma set. Not that I'm sure the play pattern is much more fun to play against, but I'm interested to see how this plays out. That's a pretty big difference. That's kind of wild. I'm interested to see what's up with that. Withering Mist. I haven't seen this card in a while either. Decreasing the cost. That seems pretty good. Aggro's been one of the most potent archetypes in Eternal, so we're making changes to a handful of cards. Yeah, okay. So like Withering Mist being decreased and the Eradication being decreased, seems like Shadow Isles should have some easier time against aggro decks. The Fangs. Oh my gosh, Majin Bei's been saying the Fangs needs a power buff for years. He literally, I feel like that's like one of the most memorable things I hear him say, is saying the Fangs needs to be buffed. Invoke a Celestial card that costs 2 less. Dang, that's fun. I like that. I don't know if I've ever played the Fangs, because it wasn't, when I really got into the game, he was already down to a 2-2. Ignivia, getting an increase in health. Ooh. I don't know if I love Ignivia changes. Cool, very interesting. Thorny Toad going from a 1-4 to a 3-1. Yone getting a decrease in cost. Ah, come here, Olive. Sorry, people are leaving and entering the house, so she might back for a second. Windfarer Hatchling going from a 4-3 to 5-4. So just one single stat buff. I like this. This is the kind of elusives deck I enjoy. I remember Windfarer Hatching when I first got in the game. Because I'm pretty sure it's a Foundations card, right? I'll be embarrassed if it's not, because I feel like it was around. Yeah. I remember playing this card when I first got in the game. I thought it was so cool. I'll try to skip through the rest quickly. Oh my gosh, is this page actually? Holy smokes. Okay, okay. Well, I'll try to go quick. Because this has been a while. But I'm excited. Oh my gosh, okay. Wow, there are so many cards here. Scattered Pod. 5 cost, no attune, and 1 less health point. I don't know, man. Least Index, they're coming back with a vengeance. This is pretty interesting. Mountain Scryer gets an additional stat line. Ancient Cracklith gets Fearsome. Swiftling Lancer gets an additional health to defense. I don't know if this really matters. I don't know if I'd ever throw him in a Scouts deck compared to someone like Genevieve. An extra health point here seems reasonable. Man, I haven't played Fiora decks in so long. Lobing Telescope gets an additional power. Heck yeah, I miss this card. I haven't played him in so long. Kitty Sparkleologist. If you behold a celestial card, grant ally plus special. That seems like actually a pretty solid unit. 3 mana 3/3, grant something +1/+1 and spell shield. I like that. I feel like that's a pretty good card. Tom Kench Soraka support. I saw Akedo tweet the other day. He's saying like, I think people who miss Tom Kench Soraka don't know what they're talking about. Like, did they just never play against a good Tom Kench player? Because like Tom Kench Soraka is one of the most oppressive decks to ever play against, which is probably something where I feel the same way. From my experience, I'm like, oh, Tom Kench Soraka is a cool deck. But the time when I played Tom Kench Soraka was when I was in like bronze, so people had no idea what we were doing. So I'm sure, yeah, against top tier Tom Kench Soraka decks, I'm not sure if I'd have the same experience. Star Tip Peak. I've always been interested in this card. I don't know how much it changes things, but 1 mana, create 2 cards is not bad. Because usually the Celestial cards are pretty good too, you know? Like an Equinox and a, I can't even think of. An Equinox and a Trickster, or a Moonglow and a Messenger for 1 mana, you get those cards in hand. I feel like that's very reasonable. Rhymefang Wolf, heck yeah, dude, I love this card. Rhymefang Wolf gets an additional power. I wonder what that's for. Maybe, like they said, it's just an internal. They want things to be like the best versions of themselves. Because this card was already just very good as a 2/3. Because you didn't really use him for the power. You used him as like whatever Ash froze on attack, you'd kill. I guess this protects him from. No, because he still died of Soul Harvest. Does this protect him from anything, or is it more just as like a better unit without the freezes? I'm happy. I love Ash LeBlanc. I would always jam 3 of these in my decks. Very cool. Aatrox and Outriders. Ooh, okay. Gets an additional stat line. 4 mana 4/4. Grant the top ally in your deck +3/+2 overwhelm. I don't mind that because it's just an extra way to deal pressure early in the game rather than relying on getting that next unit to be your big win condition. The Aatrox and Outriders is just a decent stat line itself. Rooting Stones gets an additional health. Molten Breath. Oh man, more dragon support. An ally with Fury strikes the 2 weakest enemies one after another. I don't know, man. Dragons is looking spicy. I don't know if this is meta changing, but there have been like 3 cards now that I'm really tempted to see what Dragons does. More Dragons! Okay, an additional stat line on Stalking Broodmother. Dragons always seems to have a little bit of a tough time closing out games sometimes because they don't have things like Overwhelm or Elusive. So Scout is just an additional way to really increase the damage you're throwing on the board at once. Very cool. I don't know. Dragons is certainly going to be one of the first decks I try out. Abyssal Guard gets Attune. I don't know if this card seems all that great. It's not elusive or anything, so the fearsome damage is obviously very nice. So I'm interested to see if the Attune helps him see more play. Cool, cool. Insightful Investigator. Man, I haven't seen this card in so long. The only memory I have of this is watching like I think watching a Majin Bay video when he ran into someone who was playing this interesting 2-cost card deck. And I was like, that deck looks kind of fun and quirky. I don't know if that'll change much, but just still cool. Oh, baby. This is one of my favorite cards ever. Radiant Guardian. When was the last time you ever saw this card? There are just so many times when I'm like, Screeching Dragon, Radiant Guardian, Windfare Hatching. Like, I love these cards so much, but they're just not good enough anymore. Getting an extra power, that's pretty nice. 5 mana, 5/5 life is still tough. I love it. Very cool. I usually would run, like, what? Back in the old days, you could run one of these in your Dragon's decks as a way to help beat aggro. Ritual of Renewal. Oh, heck yeah, dude. I always love this card when I see it in something like that. You're getting a Tellstones, but I never, ever play it. I'm like, I can't take the time to do this, but at burst speed, it's actually a pretty interesting card. Vladimir Adjustments. Attack. Deal 1 to each ally to my right to deal that much damage to the enemy nexus. Play. Deal 1 to any number of allies to deal that much to an enemy. Okay, so it's not hitting Nexus Burn, but it's an instant enter the battlefield effect, and you can kill units with it. That's pretty cool. You can like clear the way for a Vladimir attack, rather than relying on throwing him into combat to get value. Very cool. Alright. The last Runeterra open of the split will be Eternal. Join the fray on the 2nd and 3rd. Okay, awesome. Let's get back to some games. But that was really cool. I'm excited for those cards. I thought there were a lot of really cool ones there. That took a long time though. My goodness, that was like 30 plus minutes. I didn't realize that was taking that long. I thought that was fun though. I enjoy going through that. I usually don't spend a whole bunch of time going through all the cards live on stream. I'm excited. That seems like a very interesting patch. I feel like, again, it's so hard to know preemptively what's going to be good or bad. But there was nothing in there that stuck out as this is going to be completely busted. Or it didn't kill too many of like my enjoyable archetypes. Things like the Sump Monument, I'm pretty happy to die, to see die. Do I care about Darken Ages? I don't think I do. I think I'd rather go Bloodletters here. Because we could use Elkin as a Fearsome Black if we're desperate. But this doesn't seem like a great matchup for us. It's going to be very hard for us to take positive trades. We do run 3 copies of the Darken Harp. Like, Darken Harp plus a Valor could be a really big game changer here. Or even like a Fleet Feather Tracker. Do I even want to trade here? Like, it makes it more awkward. I don't think Elkin matters for the tough in this matchup as much. And hopefully it'll stop them from getting more lurk triggers with this dude, but I don't know if that matters. Like, should I just take the attack, go Fleet Feather Tracker into turn 2 Elkin plus Bloodletters? I guess this is kind of bad, huh? I'll be honest, I don't have much experience in this matchup, so maybe that's a problem. I guess in hindsight, you know, but I don't want to give them free units to attack with, because I don't know, maybe it's silly, but they can go wider than us if we take bad trades. And so, like, what are the odds of me even keeping these bigger units alive when we need them? I don't know. I think those first few turns are pretty bad.
Monsters still lurk in Demasia's every shadow.
Okay, now I'm just throwing. This game went very poorly. I didn't think about the vulnerable dude. I figured they were trying to like be sneaky with. Okay, sure. Just ignore this game. I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, anyways, my point was all the adjustments look very reasonable and enjoyable. Like the Dragon's decks being good would be fun. there wasn't anything where I thought this new archetype is going to be crazy oppressive. And it helped adjust some of the old stuff, which I'm pretty okay with. Should I block this? They don't have any spell mana, so if we block... Oh no, we can't give it additional attack. I guess we can go... I don't even know what we're doing to beat this guy. Maybe we should just take it. Or we could block, play Vayne and Tumble with Dark Enthrall and see if they're willing to take the trade. I don't know if that's a winning play though. Like, what else are we doing? Next turn, if we just play Aatrox, we can't attack into this guy anyway. Again, I'm not sure how to play this matchup. I feel like I really messes up on the first few turns.
No more than fiends.
They already have +6 lark triggers. We have no reaction for Pike at this point. So I'm going to try to keep up Tumble plus Condemn. This guy can't block anyways, so I'm just gonna throw him to the fires here. If they're willing to take a block. I imagine they won't. If not, I'm probably just gonna have to go after Zersereth. But Pike's spell is 2 mana anyway, or 4 mana. Okay, sorry, I was thinking wrong one. So we can go here. As long as we don't have Bone Skewer, maybe we can get out of this. I think this matchup is probably a tough one in the first place, and it doesn't help that I miserably misplayed it. Like, let's see here. Okay, yeah, Pike Rek'Sai is literally our second worst matchup. It goes Nasus Veigar is a 38% win rate for us, and then Pike Rek'Sai is only a 45% win rate for us. So yeah, it definitely doesn't help that I kind of blew it.
Death it is.
Here's my game plan. We have to have a few things go right for us. They don't have Red Negation? Or they don't have that. I was gonna say they don't have that. They don't have the Blood in the Waters. And they don't have a Pike spell. Because then we could have gone the World Ender to flip into Anaka and Aatrox. Aatrox is a 10-10 Overwhelm, and we get the Anaka trigger. And that was my way to bail out of that game. I think in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have played the units I did on turn 1 and turn 2. I probably should have just gone for the higher upside play of like Play my fleet for the tracker turn 1. Don't block. Turn 2, I can go Elkin plus Bloodletters. And then we can see what's up from that point on. Hope we find something like a Darken Harp later on for the quick attack challenger advantages. So that would be, I think I played it too defensively, like, oh my gosh, I have to stop every single unit that's trying to attack me in the early game, which I don't think is the right way to approach that. But now you know. So we'll see what's up. What do you guys think of the Azir version? I don't know if Azir really fits in the deck all that much. When I've run into these Azir versions, it doesn't seem like he's been all that incredible. I might just curve out here with like Elkin, Broadwing, Vayne, Night Defector. No mana for the Dark Embedders even to slip in there. I just don't want to go Broadwing or Elkin plus equipment or Broadwing plus equipment and get roasted by like Soul Harvest. Again, this is our worst matchup. So I don't know if there's really a great way to play around it. Oh, that's interesting too. Like right now, Soul Harvest feels so bad. The Azir version just adds another blocker for turn 3. Ah, gotcha, okay.
Rise and shine, sleepy dupes.
I'm trying to keep up some mana here. I could have like played Vayne more efficiently there, but I wanted to keep up more mana depending on what we wanted to go for on this turn. And this can help kill the Rockbear Shepherd. Again, maybe it's something where we just want to get Vayne on board to level her up faster, but either her or the Perpetually Broadwing would die to Soul Harvest. I guess obviously we had catch in hand, but... Hey Asagi, what's up? Just playing some Quinn Aatrox Vayne at the moment. We went over the new patch cards and everything, really exciting. Do we want to take this attack? I feel like it's also just a reasonable end round, and then we can go Vayne Tumble next turn. Because they're burning a lot of mana. Ooh, that's a nice card too. I like that a lot. It said that 80% of my favorite decks are just dead. Yeah. I'm excited. I think there will be some interesting ones to try out. But yeah, there are definitely a few decks getting hit. Okay, I think that's reasonable to let go. Now, Soul Harvest can't kill the ranged Night Defector, so I'm pretty happy to just rip the tumble here. Dragons are good now, though. But it's okay. What do you think about the patch? I'm really excited for the patch. I think it looks like there are going to be a lot of fun archetypes like dragons to try out. And, you know, like the formidable cards look good, things like that. I don't think I'm going to attack with Vayne, but why not? If they have a Soul Harvest or a Hate Spike, they can kill her anyways. But, like, she's going to level next turn. So I think I'm just going to try to keep her out of any possible danger. Like, if they block with the 2 damage, then she could die to Quietus, right?
If we hesitate, we die, and I'm not
I'll just try to make it awkward. Because next turn, if they happen to top deck Hate Spike and they don't have it right now, we can at least protect her with a catch later on. Shengaleo. Yeah, that one seems like a really cool one. Overall, I'm excited. I think it looks like a lot of fun. Lee Sin coming back. I might try some Lee Sin. I didn't really play him too much back in the olden days. I just love Swain allowing Jax Ornn. I'm gonna miss them since you don't play Eternal. Yeah. I haven't played much Jax Ornn, which is kind of funny because it's been doing really well. Maybe I'll have to give it a try soon. What do I even want to do here? I'm just scared of like a Ruination. Because if we play Range Knight Defector here, things start to look a little sad. So what if I just swap this out for Catch with the Darken Harp? Because then if they use Quicksand, at least we know they can't use Ruination this turn. Or if they do Ruination afterwards, we can go Range Knight Defector plus Bloodletters. Like, Vayne's a level up threat if they don't have some response. But now they just have so many chump blockers, they might be able to slow down the game long enough to really make it awkward. I don't know if they play Ruination in that deck. Maybe I'm being a little bit superstitious. Let's see. Maybe not. They run Castigate, though. They definitely run Castigate. Yeah, so the most popular version, at least, runs things like Rampaging Vakai, Destinata, Vhagar obviously has removal, but no Ruination. So maybe I should be a little more aggressive. I'd love a fish fight up the top too. I don't even know if we had a great attack there anyways. Even if we assumed they didn't have Ruination. Like, you're right, they don't run Ruination. So what would we have done differently? Because I couldn't have attacked with Vayne or our 3-2 into their Rock Bears anyways. Like, I would have had to go, would have had to trade. With my Vayne or my Elkin just for free into the Rock Bears. So I don't know if we had a particularly impressive attack either way. Okay, they just surrender. Wild! Okay, again. I don't know. That's the second time we've won against the Vhagar Naz's Vaults of Helya deck in a row. I don't feel like that was supposed to be a win. I feel like I misplayed that one pretty awkwardly. Anyways, Asagi. Think I'm gonna go to Jinx Echo, or maybe try to be better with Heimer Jace. Jinx Echo's been doing pretty well. That one didn't get hit too hard. That might actually be a pretty reasonable meta call afterwards, after some of the like squeaker nerfs and everything. Oh, Jinx Cannon. Okay, maybe we get to see the old squeaker friend in action before his eventual demise. I like this curve. If we get an equipment, we're looking pretty good. I'd love a Darkened Spear off the top.
Looking for a hero for my hero.
Do I take this block? The return of Wrench nerf was brutal. Okay, I feel like I have to take this block, right? This is just so much damage.
Anything helps.
Do we stop this and give them the extra discard fodder? Or just, I think I'm just gonna kill a unit, right? Maybe I could save him? Because next turn we're just playing Badger Bear anyway. And the extra unit might come in handy later on. That's pretty nice too, but I think we're kind of behind at the moment.
The sack got me good.
No chompers is nice though, at least we get to block how we want. But people say it's still good on Mecha Yordles, so I guess it's going to have a full shift on playstyle. I do think it's still a reasonable card to include. Wow, we're actually getting blown up this game, holy smokes. I think it's still, yeah, it might be a reasonable card, because the extra health does seem pretty interesting. Wow, this is insane. We're getting roasted so hard. Where's Radiant Guardian when you need it?
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
I guess we can still try to get Aatrox down before we die. Maybe there's a chance. I can go Ranger Knight Defector here and try to kill a Jinx with our Condemn. Oh my gosh, holy smokes. I feel like I have not been destroyed by... Oh wait, no, they didn't get the unit. I feel like it's been a while since I've been so hardcore roasted by this deck. Do I think that Aatrox will go back to Kayn for good now? I don't know. You still have lots of interesting removal. I'm sorry, I just don't really figure out the change impacts since this is the first big meta change since I started playing. Oh, don't even worry about it. I feel like I have no clue what happens with the patch changes. I think it's more just fun to talk about it, but I don't think I'm like some, you know, hyper genius about how everything's going to change. I think it's just more fun to discuss. Don't feel like you have to be sorry over that. I'm just as clueless. What did I do this turn? I just detected the Ranger Knight Defector.
If we hesitate, we die, and
What?
I'm not interested.
Oh, I don't have an equipment. That's why I don't have a scout attack. I was so confused. That's a little unfortunate. So our Condemn plan would have been really bad if they had Jinx. We're still in a tricky spot. Yeah, pretty good.
No backing down. I possess the secrets of Kinku. I'm ready.
I don't really want to run into a Mystic Shot and lose our dude to Quick Attack. So I'm going to throw our Fleet Foot Tracker away over here.
Very well.
I'm probably just going to pass. I guess, like, we don't even have a scout attack, so rallying doesn't seem particularly great here. I guess if we tumble, we can level up Vayne next turn. Maybe that's just the only way we get back into this game. Man, no equipment here is pretty brutal though, huh? Do I really want to use the form up here? Because she just still dies to block Mystic Shot. Our Range Knight Defector won't, though. Well, we are almost certainly dead. But if we top deck Aatrox and go up to 3 HP,
You have much to learn.
and then they play Jinx before they can play Rocket. Okay, this one does not seem to be going our way. I think we're a little dead. We can't even activate Condemn this turn. Like, we'd have to blank attack with one of these two. Tumble, and then Condemn. But at that point, we're just dead to... We're dead to Jinx anyways. Anyways, let's see. Did Sagi get to play in beta? I did. I started in the beta launch and stopped a few months later. I think it was when they started playing Hybrid Ezreal. Our opponent had a really aggressive start. Pretty hard for us to come back at that point. I think that matchup is definitely dependent on us trying to find more equipments than 0. Like, if we were able to do, like, Darken Harp onto our Ranged Unite Defector, just being able to pump out 12 damage a turn kind of forces them into an awkward spot where they might have to start jump blocking too. Oh, wow, haven't seen this deck too much on ladder. I don't know if I want to keep Broadwing since it dies to Quietus and Soul Harvest. But it's really nice for trying to get after some of their stuff, huh? Alright, Broadwing it is. Oh, that's actually really nice too. So now we have 2 threats. We can go Fleet Feather Tracker plus the +2/+0, and Broadwing plus the +0/+2. Both as ways to try to kill their threats. And if they happen to have a Quietus or a Soul Harvest for one of the others, one or the other, we can just go with the game plan on whichever one they don't kill. Because Darken Harp, they have to have a unit plus Hate Spike, right? Ah, that's actually kind of good. I didn't realize they main decked that. So now we have a choice to make. If we take this attack, they could still have a Brittle Steel. But at this point, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to lose our Fleet Feather Tracker. Because if we have the Brittle Steel, they're going to either have it now or later when we try to go after their Ash with Fleet Feather Tracker. So I'm going to try to play the tempo game and just try to get the easy pick off. Okay, that's fine. Like I said, I don't think this guy was ever living long enough to go after Ash when they wouldn't have any mana up anyways. So that's fine. Ranged Unite Defector also is vulnerable to Brittle Steel, so it's actually kind of nice to be able to get her the Darken Spear buff and use a Brittle Steel so they can't use her. We can go Vayne here. She probably just dies. I think it's a little harder for them to kill Ranged Unite Defector. They'd have to go Freeze plus... It'd be worse later. Yeah, not too big of a loss. Shatter plus Freeze can kill Ranged Unite Defector. I guess it's better to keep Vayne alive if they happen to use... If they only have one answer, I'd rather try to level up Vayne than Ranged Unite Defector, I suppose. Because the tumbles might be useful later on if we can work through their freezes. Oh, that was a fantastic draw. I was going to say, I might want to start with Vayne, but then if they have Soul Harvest, you won't have any burst speed reaction to get these equipment on her. Now we do. So we could go catch onto Vayne to protect her from a Soul Harvest, plus equip this. That's a little more troublesome. Wow, this feels really bad, huh? Who knew Demacia into Freljord could be tough? I always am on the other side. I don't think it makes much sense to go Darken Harp. 3/5 just to attack. Like, it protects through a freeze though. And then we could use catch if they don't have any reaction. Is it ever worth it? It just puts her vulnerable to Shatter though, or Brittle Steel even more so. And like if they play Ash,
We die, and I'm not interested in dying.
we could also just pass. I don't see a great attack. Because Darkenharp gets so roasted by a freeze or a brittle steel on Vayne. And I don't know if going Darken Spear and trying to catch them off guard with the +1/+1 catch makes a ton of sense. This is a tough matchup, yeah. Shadow Isles plus Freljord I feel like are kind of Demacia's worst nightmares. I can take some damage here. They run Ruination in this deck? Yeah. I don't know. At some point, I feel like we have to run out our cards at some point. But maybe right then wouldn't have been the best choice if they did have Ruination. We wouldn't have a unit to play the next turn. Like on turn 8, we can just start playing Anakas and see how that goes. I think I can tumble here with Aatrox. Because even if they have double freeze, this only goes up to a 5 power unit. We're not getting the extra scout attack, but we're like pushing some damage. And it makes it so they can't really steal any good trades, I think. It's funny because when I play Aatrox Conveyne, I struggle more with the champions than with the units. You usually play too protective of them. Gotcha, yeah. I think it's tough. I feel like one of the reasons this deck is so good is because you can be very flexible with which units you need to win. Like sometimes all you need to do is just rally, rally, rally. Other times it's, yeah, try to keep Aatrox alive and Vayne for the tumble value, you know? I think it's pretty interesting. Sometimes the late game Darken are just good enough to win too. This turn starts to look a lot more difficult. I can start with a freeze, or a Darkenharp here. If they use a freeze, we still hopefully get to swing in with Aatrox this turn. We're going to have to run into the freezes at some point. Brittle Steel's not the one I wanted though. They still can't kill Aatrox if we tag with him though. We can keep up Cataclysm if they play Ash. That is 2 Brittle Steels, so it might make it more difficult for them to stop our Vayne when she levels, if we can get a tag with her with Darken on board. Well, once she levels, she'll have 4 health anyway. We just take it. That's a good chunk of damage.
Faster than my arrow.
Ooh, I don't like that. That extra health buff. If they have 3rd Brittle Steel, she becomes 7 power. So even a catch with a Darken Spear wouldn't save Aatrox. But Aatrox can't be frozen.
I have waited for long enough.
Don't they have any ways to revive Ash anyways? Maybe this isn't great. Or you know what? Hold on a second. What if we went Tumble on Vayne? Or no, not Tumble. No, because it would have had we would have had to preemptively play Darkenharp. Okay, that's kind of whatever. We get the Darken Blade back. Okay, whatever. My thinking is, what if we played Darkenharp on Vayne, and then used Cataclysm on her? We wouldn't have had any mana up, but I think we would have been able to kill Ash for free. I think that was a bit of a throw.
All the world on one arrow.
Because, yeah, I definitely am not happy that we traded Aatrox for Ash, since they have so many ways to get her back. If we were able to get the quick attack trade, that would have been much better. But I think oh, I'm just dead. We can use catch here to... But yeah, okay, that was such a silly misplay. I didn't see the Vayne Darkenheart plus Cataclysm line at first, but I think that would have been better. Because when she did attack, our opponent only had 2 mana left. Since she would have been leveled, she would have been out of Brittle Steel range anyways. So that would have been so much better. We can go here.
Unify the tribes.
It's fine. It's an unfavored matchup anyway. Misplays are okay as long as they're in when you're doing them in the unfavored matchup. Yeah. Okay. Do we just have to rip the Anaka play here? Maybe not. Maybe we can just start like this. See what they do. Because 1 freeze here means 1 less freeze for... That's not a freeze. Man, that poor Range Knight Defector has been roasted by the 3 health rule all game long. Alright, we can get double Anaka hit here. How do we do that? I don't think we can. No way to get her out of range. Wait, what if we go Anaka? I guess, again, we'd have to have no freezes. We could give her Darkened Spear. Or yeah, I guess we can start this way. If they don't have any freezes, maybe we can get 2 Anaka hits. Ah, shoot. That's pretty good. Well, I don't think we're winning if we don't attack. We're not winning if we do attack either, though, huh? I think I should have played this game differently. I don't see a way out. I think I'm through this. Because we'd have to hit Aatrox specifically to get some health. They would just trade with one of them, kill our Anaka for free, and still have the open attack next turn. So we can hope for... I don't think we have any top decks. I'll pass and just... I don't think we have any top decks, though, that save us here. Okay. GG. Rats. Yeah, if I saw that Vayne plus Cataclysm plus Darkenheart line, maybe things could have gone a little differently. But again, that's obviously a tough matchup. I won't beat myself up too much for it. I'd like to try that matchup again. That seems like an interesting one. GG. I just got a notification from Majin Bay for his YouTube video. The best lore patch we've ever had. I'm down for that. Okay. How do we get out of this? Last matchup, I took some awkward trades. What if I just do this? Because the Darkenheart plus Challengers is probably our best way out of this. Like Quinn, or 1 copy of Quinn plus Darkenheart wins us the game easy. That's also fairly reasonable. Many people are saying it. I don't know. It was a pretty cool patch. I'll end the round. Because even if they have a Snapshot Storm here, it won't be able to kill our Elkin unless it randomly hits Rek'Sai off the top. Yo, look at that. OP. Okay. I think our mulligan worked out pretty well. I was actually kind of interested to see how that worked out. GG. I like the fact that it might change the whole dynamics now. Yeah. No turn one lurk. No turn one lurk, instant concession. That's the high roll though, right? It's like, if you're on turn one with the play, or with the attack token as lurk, you just win. If you don't hit it, you just lose. Unfortunate. Oh no, not Bard. He's one of the champions I do not like to see pop up when I play against any deck. Not bad, not bad. Does this matter? Maybe. It's just a nice, cheap equipment. Do you guys want me to play Scouts after this? I was thinking about playing some Misfortune Quinn. Because this deck only runs one Quinn. And we haven't even genre yet. This is like, okay, time to learn the other half of the decks I don't know yet. Yeah, that's definitely one of my big weaknesses. I'd really love to play in more tournaments. Part of it is I just get so nervous when tournaments roll around that I end up just pulling out at the last second. But when I do play tournaments, I don't do well because I don't play the decks I don't enjoy. Like, even if it was literally just sitting down for 5 to 10 games just to get a somewhat better understanding of the deck, it'd be so helpful for me to understand those matchups. But I'm like, I'm not playing Bard, are you kidding me? I'm gonna play decks I enjoy. And I think it hurts me in the long run. Plus, as a quote-unquote content creator, I never play any new decks. I always play like the same 3 decks. Oh, that's one heck of a card. Is Scout's dead without champion strength? Maybe. It's on the fringes, I'd say, as an okay deck. But it's just not as good as other decks. Like, you'd almost never really want to play it over Aatrox Quinn, Aatrox Vayne. And so without champion strength, yeah, it probably just doesn't have the... Shoot. That thing is already big. Why is their 4-drop bigger than my 3-drop? Come on.
I seem to have misplaced my self.
I think I'm just gonna pass here. If they attack, I can just block Nora. Or just block with this to get your roll back if they don't attack here. Aatrox is in my hand, my friend. Alright, I'm gonna take an Aatrox attack here. I'm gonna try to go after Nora. Unfortunate. The barrier stops our attack this turn, and this actually lets him do some pretty cool things. So we can go Aatrox here, just get him on board. I don't think there's any reason for me to fish fight this. Like, that's a good card for them since they're already trying to load up on stats. But I don't think I'm going to attack with Aatrox into this if I tap out to play him this turn. So I'll just try to make sure they don't have a great option to deal with Giral. And then play Aatrox post-combat. Oh shoot. Elusives too? This is a really awkward deck. I think we're in trouble. It's already turned 7. So, oh, and Vayne. Interesting.
Section 1, Runeterra realms.
So I don't know if I want to block this. I think one of the ways we win is probably just getting a World Ender turn off, huh? The infamous Arsenal hand. I'll just I'm gonna be really aggressive here. I'm gonna block with Aatrox. And then we can go Vayne. They can only play one Perilous Pastry at a time, so they'd have to have another spell. Or we could play one Darkened Spear right now just to get him a little bit healthier to avoid it. But I think I'm going to go Vayne into a tumble on Giral with Darkened Spear, and then next turn play the second Darkened Spear. Maybe that was like kind of whatever to throw our Aatrox away, but we're really far ahead on board now, because I don't think they'll have a great way to deal with buffed up Giral and Darkened Spear next turn. Unless they have like double wall up, I think we have a pretty good turn here. I think I'm just gonna kill their elusive, because I don't care if they take the 2/2 block here. Ooh, that's not a bad hit. This is why I love this deck so much. Like, we were able to throw away our Aatrox, which might not have even been the best play. But we have, now that they still have to find one way to deal less damage to Vayne, or she's gonna level. We're gonna have Anaka getting in big hits too. Like, there's a lot of threats to deal with. We could even just slam a World Ender next turn. Oh shoot, what? We have so many equipments I haven't even been able to equip them. I think I'm just gonna fish fight here, just to clear the way for next turn when we play the Darken or the World Ender. They're down to 1 card, and they only have 1 portal in deck, so we should be fine here. We have World Ender plus Tumble this turn. I feel like there's no way we can lose this.
Runeterra must die!
I was gonna say maybe they could have like double mini morph.
There is no reason as soothing as silence.
As silence. And we get to level up Vayne, just as a little cherry on top. I don't know if they have something for 8 mana. I don't think there's anything they could possibly have, so I don't think developing really hurts here.
Every last monster will be purged.
Yeah, this board is pretty wild, huh? Yeah. Draw some cards, spawn 2 additional units. Their mana, they can't cast anything. We get in a scout attack rally next turn. Oh, they did have a mini morph. That's so funny. I guess they're not dead technically this turn, but we just get to rally with scout next turn. Is our Geralt gonna be obliterated? Poor guy. As long as they don't have like a Vandal City buried in ice. Oh dang, that guy's pretty huge. What do you even attack with then? Okay, GG. Not too bad.
A sentinel's work is never done.
Alright, and we finished above 200 LP. Not too shabby. Top 862. Because the season doesn't start, the next season doesn't start until what, the 2nd? He just wanted to see the Bard flip animation? Yeah. Let's see, what's a reasonable LP we could try to get up to? Not that I'd ever actually be this good, but what's like top... What's 500 LP? I don't know, I don't even know if I've ever hit 300 LP. Let's see where that gets us. Sorry for the noises. Okay, can we get like top 500? Is that reasonable? Let's say top 500 for... Yeah, okay, right here. So like top 400 if we hit 300 LP, just 100 LP more is all we need. I don't know, I guess we'll see. We have like 2 weeks to get there. Is that when the new season starts? Not too shabby. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun stream. We got some good games in, and the card previews were a lot of fun. So yeah, if you're on Twitch, I always upload the VODs to YouTube in case you missed one. And if you're on YouTube, come hang out on Twitch. It's always a lot of fun chatting with you guys. But yeah, Traz, Asagi, thanks so much for hanging out. I had a lot of fun. Want to be playing Eternal? I will be playing Eternal when that comes out. But the new does the season flip for, or like, cause the new patch goes tomorrow, right? Oh no, you're right, cause your ladder rank changes too when you switch formats. I forgot about that. Right? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, then never mind. So we're not gonna try to go for top 300. We're gonna try to get out of Diamond. I don't even know what rank we are, cause I never played Eternal much last season. So I had to climb so hard just to get to like Diamond by the end of the season, cause I was in like Bronze or something. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun hanging out. I will be back then when the new patch comes. I think tomorrow at 2 p.m. my time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we'll get to experiment with some new cards. Yeah, I totally forgot about the new cards coming tomorrow. For some reason, I thought it'd be like whenever the next season started in like 2 weeks or anything. Anyways, this is awesome. I'll see you guys around. Have a good one.